at the Coste in Gradley, and I was meant to come for a week, but I stayed for a month, and then I ended up going back and doing pruning at the Coste, and then I met my ex-husband, and we started a small farm together. And then we split up, and I started my own farm in Bolsena, and I still make a bit of wine under his label. So it's a bit confusing because I make maybe 60% of my production under the label Gazzetta and a little bit under the label Aola, but they have the same labels, but they're two different farms.
Just a little bit confusing.
But it's until I find a bigger cellar space. My cellar is not really a cellar; it's a small room with 2 barrels and sort of 8 tanks. And until I can get a bigger space, it means I make it. He has a bigger cellar, so I make it about 2,000 liters at his. And I'm working on getting a bigger cellar, but for the last 3 years, I've been supposed to get this big cellar near where my small cellar is now. But the man who's the old guy who's there just doesn't want to leave. So I'm sort of playing this waiting game.
Is that Bad Santa?
Bad Santa. He just doesn't want to go.
What a nickname that is.
Oh, he's a character.
He looks like a really grumpy Father Christmas. And he's actually, he makes his wines interesting because so maybe I guess the lake's never been very highly valued wine territory, but he's one of the few people for the last 20 years who's really focused on autochthonous grape varieties here, and he's an interesting fellow, but he's just not leaving his cellar space now. I think he used to have his own vineyards, and they're all, he said, organic, but sort of for the last 5 years he doesn't have any more vineyards, and he buys grapes from various places. And he's been saying he's going to close his business for the last 4 years, but he just keeps extending it. So I'm in the process now, seeing if I can find another cellar. So yeah, that's how I got here.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about your region, where you are? What is this lake, and this, like, the specificity of where you are in terms of?
So the cellar and my white vineyard are on the lake, and it's about between 450 and 500 meters above sea level on sort of solid sand and ash. So the lake's an old volcano. So the soil's quite poor for vegetables, but it's very interesting for wine. And it's all I have here is white grapes. So it's mainly Procanico, which is Trebbiano Toscana, Malvasia, some Moscato, and Ansonica. And on the other side of my vineyards are right on, this part of the lake is on the border of Umbria and Lazio. Mm-hmm. And on the other side into Umbria, I have my red vineyard, which I share with and another couple. So it's a space of about 4 hectares, and I share it with another couple, and it's Sangiovese in Aleatico, and it's always volcanic, and it's got a mix of the bits that are volcanic, but the major part of it's calcare, like limestone, and on old seabed. So it's it's only about a 40-minute drive, but it's a completely different type of soil. And then where my ex-partner's vineyard, Aola, where I have the other wines, it's volcanic, but much older volcano. So it's more organic matter now. It's less sand and soot and ash, and it's more fertile, the soil. So it's sort of, there's a mix of white and red. And so I get grapes from the 3 different sites. So I have a lot of grapes, but I only make 5,000 bottles. So I sell a lot of grapes, which is
and you're not
a great practice. I should be making more wine.
You're not too far away from the Mediterranean
from
either, are you? So that must have an effect on the microclimate there.
Yeah, so especially the vineyards on the lakes are particularly interesting because you've got the sea not very far away at all. You can almost see it, and then you've got the Apennines on the other. So you've got really interesting wind patterns. It's often, you'll have a storm on one side of the lake that won't reach the other. It's very changeable, but it's very well ventilated. So here it's much less prone to diseases such as Oidium peronospora in respect to the vineyards that are even 15 minutes more into Umbria, where it's much more humid, less ventilated climate. So yeah, the microclimates here are it's very interesting. And it's also interesting how the soil changes. And the new vineyard I have on the lake, which is 2 hectares of white grapes, Malvasia and Bracanico. Within the 2 hectares, it changes a lot, the soil quality. There's some parts that are much more fertile, and there's other parts that are just stone. And you can see it. You have 2 rows of vineyards that are much more greener, much more vigorous than the other 2, because the other 2 are on a street, like a line of part of the soil that's just completely poor. So yeah, it's an interesting area, but it's never been highly regarded for making wine.
Why is that?
Why is that? Yeah.
I don't know. I think people have always made wine here, but it's never been, I guess, that's, they've got Barolo, or you've got Tuscany, and this part of Lazio has never been thought of as a particularly...
Lazio in general is not...
Lazio in general, no.
The big wine regions.
In Umbria, they make... none of them are highly regarded, I guess, and sort of... But the stuff that comes, especially from this interesting microclimates on the lake, is really interesting, and the aromas and the tension that I think the very poor volcanic soil gives. Is some parts of it are literally just stone and ash, which is interesting.
What else? Like, what's the wildlife like
in terms of animals?
Yeah, and also like vegetation, animals, vegetation. So it's really interesting, because once you cross over just up the hill into Umbria, it's much more, almost parts of it look almost, here where I am, it's much more that Mediterranean feel. You've got sort of dry stone walls, lots of acacia, olives, what else is here? Looking outside. It's a completely different feel. In some parts of around the lake, there's capers that grow on the stone walls and stuff. It's a completely different feel to just a 15-minute drive inland a bit from the lake. And there's lots of wild boars, deers. Are they a problem in the...
The boars, not so much. The boars, when the grapes are here, they eat the grapes, and the deers can eat the shoots. We have more problem with neighbours' sheep who come at this time of year and eat all the buds a bit earlier, when the buds are like that.
I was wondering what's your thoughts on the you work with 2 pretty iconic natural winemakers of Italy, and their wines are associated a lot to their personality. The way people talk about their wine, it's almost like a way of talking about the person. And I feel that it's the same with your wine as well. I know you, I met you a few times from now, and also like the way Tuto is describing your wines, even on the whole description, like they're like, it's saying that her work evolved over the years, and much like Trish, these wines are joyful and full of life. She is one of the most curious, energetic, and enthusiastic people we have ever met.
Definitely Damiana.
Great words, Alex. Love it.
That had nothing to do with me.
But I don't know, like I read that, I drink your wine, it speaks to me, it's kind of like, and I was just wondering, what's your thoughts in terms of like, what do you think in terms of like, do you think wine actually can get affected by the personality of the winemaker? Oops.
I thought she was just pondering it, but she
Yeah.
Oh, guys, I cut out.
Yeah, you're back. Did you
I have to. Can I just say really quickly that I don't have internet in my house, and I got a SIM card. I put it in a modem, but it's not very stable.
Oh,
So if it does weird things.
Great effort.
that's not a problem.
So sorry. I heard you said, "What are my thoughts?" and then it cut out.
Yeah, okay. On like the relationship between the personality of a winemaker and the personality and the identity of a wine in relation to the winemaker.
It's interesting because, it's true. John Marco and Antonio have very different ways of working, and it was interesting also when I worked with my ex-partner, because he'd worked for 3 years with John Marco at the Coste before, and I guess 4 years, and I'd worked so closely with Antonio, and Antonio and John Marco have such different ways of making wine. And I really saw working with Jacopo how I would tend to do things just much more like Antonio did, because that's how I'd learned, and Jacopo did them much more like John Marco.
And how is that? What is it? What is the way?
Well, like Antonio, like John Marco works a lot with, I guess, and more, I guess, I don't know if it's the right thing to say, but like in a French sort of way.
No, it's complete. I was about to say the same thing. I mean, he never learned with Italian winemakers, did he? At all, John Marco. Like the style is very much. Even the macerated wines remind me more of like French macerated wines.
Yeah. And the sort of whereas he works very much without oxygen, whereas Antonio, especially Antonio's wines have changed a bit as well. Like in the early, like now I think Antonio has shorter macerations and a bit, but in the early, when I was there, it was still long macerations, lots of pump overs, a lot of, I don't know, I guess the way I'm not very scientific. I was always much more humanities school and university, and then I was involved with writing, so I've never, I guess, had a huge leaning towards science. And so the way I suppose I started making wine was maybe not scientific enough, but the way I work, I guess, when it sounds silly, but you kind of work with the grapes. So this sort of the grapes that we have here and in this area, people traditionally have done them with skin contact. They're not, the acidity here is not, it's not a good acidity in the sense that the pH is quite high, and so if things like a lot of like direct presses, which maybe would work great in an Alsatia or somewhere with here we have a lot of problems. In the early years, the sort of wines that I really liked that we did experiments trying to make here, and they just didn't work. So I think in a sense you have to really work with the grapes you have. And something like Procanico, which is, I guess, the main grape around here, it lends itself really well to a long maceration, and I like the balance of it with chestnuts. And I think trying to work with the fruit is the best thing, because otherwise, I remember the first, or with the year as well, in 2014, we did lots of direct presses and short macerations, and it was a really wet year with very low very low sugar, and everything went through, all the fermentations finished really easily, and we had all these really fresh, zippy wines, and I thought, oh, this is great, it's so easy, and in 2015, I tried to recreate the same rosé, and it was a really hot year, it didn't rain, there was loads of sugar, and it just blocked, it just stopped with sort of 20 grams of sugar, and I just didn't know what to do, and the white as well. And I think, you have to try and work with the fruit, the type of fruit that you have. And I don't know how the personality affects it. I mean, it's funny bottling now, I was working with the two people I share the vineyard with, and they're very organized, and I think I drive them crazy because I have no organization, and I change my mind of what we're going to bottle and what we're going to do, and then I decide to mix this and that. And I suppose a lot of maybe the winemaking is made also by not by chance but by circumstance. For example, my cellar's small, so sometimes I am forced to make something in a certain way because I don't have a tank. I want to macerate something for 2 weeks, but I don't have a tank to do that, so I have to directly press it, and then I want to give it a bit of tannin, so I put in 2 buckets of grapes inside of it. But I've done that because of circumstance, not because of something that I don't know if that makes sense.
Do you find
What you just described, I think you are very similar to Samuel Buckley. Anyway.
Thanks.
The same person.
True. We are the same people.
It's just had a shave.
Do you find your shave is looking good? You're looking really good. By the way, I know it's not about the wine, but you're looking so hot right now. Really like look. Trish, do you find like Caroline talking about your personality as well, but are you there? I don't know if you're there or not.
I'm here.
Oh, cool.
I don't know what you can see. I don't know who can see what.
Like, it's its own body. But I think you were saying you studied sustainable agriculture, and before that you were doing architecture and design. Does that influence you at all? Like,
no, I wanted to be a writer, and I had no interest in architecture and design. I majored in Mandarin and history, and I wanted to write novels.
Right.
But I got a job straight out of university with an architecture magazine, and then I worked there for about 3 or 4 years, and after a while I just started writing about architecture. Not that I don't like architecture, but I wasn't particularly passionate about architecture.
Yeah. Well,
Would have been a good architect then.
Yeah. So it has no influence on your wine growing. There's no precision of that question. That's
I was the wrong person to be writing about architecture.
There's some periods of architecture that are crazy and unorganized. Gaudi.
I like writing, but yeah, no.
Are you frozen? You're a really good spot.
But anyway.
Should be back.
There.
There you go, back.
Oh, here we go.
I should take my video off. It might be more.
No, the video's good.
Video's good.
Yeah.
Trish, I find your story really inspirational, and I think looking at the circumstances that we're in currently, do you think more people, younger people, might get sort of a feeling and an idea to follow this similar path as you have, in terms of?
I don't know, but definitely in this moment, the last 3 months, if I had any doubts about my life choices, they've been validated, because I've had the most lovely 3 months living in the countryside, eating veggies from the garden, so in this period it's been very lovely. But I guess it's also maybe, I guess I live quite a boring life as well. I live by myself with a dog on a hill, and it's very idyllic in some senses, but I guess it's maybe boring in other senses. So I guess it's like pros and cons. But I don't know.
What advice would you give to sort of young up and coming individuals that want to sort of travel that same path?
I mean, I think it's the best thing I ever did was deciding to live in the country. I mean, I love plants. I love working in the garden. I mean, it sounds really corny, but the joy you get from seeing the lettuces come up or the tomatoes. When I worked in Hong Kong for magazines, I was a head case. I was always stressed and tired, and I didn't eat well, and I don't know, I'm really content living like this, which is, I think, maybe it's almost become a dirty word, being content, because we're not meant to be, like, it's almost a bit boring. But it's a really nice thing to be content. And being busy all day doing physical stuff, you get to the end of the day and you sleep really well. I never used to sleep well. I sleep amazingly now. Not to sound evangelical, but no, it's I think it depends. Maybe certain personalities suit it. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good point of Richard, though. Like, everybody is running around, I guess, in our industry, on our side of the wine industry, which is trying to sell it and drinking most of it. We live the kind of life that you're talking about in Hong Kong, and we're all trying to become content or trying to ease off. It is inspiring, because I don't see myself living in the countryside till I'm 60 and I'm well away of Ray, and maybe I can have a few hectares then. But yeah, it's nice that you've just taken that decision, and and you always seem so well.
How young were you when you started at Cantina Giardino as well? You were like mid-20s or something then, weren't you? Oh, no.
I'm older than you, Alex. Not by much.
Yeah, a little bit.
But
yeah, what, just turned 30 or something?
No, when I started Giardino, I was 27, I think.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
And how did you get that opportunity?
Yeah.
It was your birthday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was studying, and I did a trip from Milan. I think it was summer holidays from university, and I did a trip from Milan down to Sicily. And then we spent a week in Sicily, and I got the ferry back to Napoli. And I'd worked with Alex White. No, I didn't actually work with Alex White, but I'd worked with Giorgio, who'd worked with Alex in Sydney when I was studying in Sydney. And I tried Cantina Giardino's wines in Sydney, and I really liked them. And when I'd been studying in Italy, I could never find any of the wines I liked. And when I knew we were going to Napoli, I thought I'd email Cantina Giardino and ask them whether I could find their wines. And I wrote Daniela an email in Google Translate saying, "Hi, I'm blah, 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 blah." He wrote back to me in Google Translated English saying, "If you like our wines, the best," because I asked her where was a restaurant in Napoli where we could find her wines to have a dinner, because it was my birthday. But I didn't tell her it was my birthday. And she said, "If the best place if you want to try wines is to come to us. We have many beds in our house. We can host you." I don't know, it was all very funny. And she's like, "But just a question, do Australian people eat rabbits?" And so and she's like, "Bring as many friends as you want." So I arrived there with 4 or 5 friends from Australia. And it was so funny because I didn't speak any Italian, they didn't speak any English. And we had this hysterical evening all together. And I said, "Oh, well, I'm finished studying, I'm going to come back and do harvest with you." And then I think I came over to London, and Alex did a tasting with them. And Heidi and I, your ex-girlfriend Heidi, I was staying with her, and we came along to the tasting, and they were there, and I came to dinner with you guys afterwards, and I was just about to finish my master's, and I said, "Oh, I'll come and do harvest with you." And then I did. And I think I just broke up with my boyfriend. I didn't really know what I was doing, so I said I'd stay for a month, and I stayed for 2 years. So
that's so Daniela though. Like, you just send an off-the-cuff text message, and the next thing there's like 8 of you eating rabbit and drinking dirty bottles of wine in their house. Like, anyone in the world texted should just be like, yeah. Amazing.
It's so funny though as well, because the cellar now is so full. I remember going there that first time, and because I think they made, I don't know how much wine they make now, but I think in those days maybe had like 15,000 bottles, and it was, and then hadn't really had that many visitors from overseas.
Yeah, no one really knew the wine. Even within natural wine circles, Italian wine, you knew Cornelissen, Radicon, La Stoppa, Ariano Copinti. There was like a few people. It was pretty hard to find their wine. It was definitely hard to sell them for the first round.
I mean, they are pretty out there as well. Their wine are quite wild in really good ways, you know, like.
Yeah.
And also, like, I think that for me, when I taste their wine, and also like when I read about the methodology of it, is like it's very unusual. And
well,
they are
because of we're talking before about circumstance, because that's because the cellar is in their house, which is not where the vineyards are, but it's very, very high, and the temperature drops when it gets towards winter very quickly. So the fermentations are kind of going up. It's not like where you do a wine in the Mediterranean, it just goes dry. And so you obviously invite in all these different bacteria, which is why you get obviously volatile acidity, but also these really crazy kind of lifted aromas in their wines.
But it seems that they are going along with that. You know, they're not trying
100%.
to fight, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And what Trish, what did you learn from that kind of, like, it feels they are quite there's a freedom that I can taste when I drink their wine. And I guess, how was it for you? What did you learn from them?
I guess I learned to make wine like they do. So I really, like, if I have a problem, Antonio is the first person I would call. And I guess I think it's funny, Antonio and I, we really, even though we couldn't really speak to each other at first, I really just understood working with him in the cellar from, I don't know, kind of gestures and a sort of physical kind. I don't know. It's sort of, and I picked up that kind of energy from him, which I know it sounds a bit corny to talk about energies with that, but I really do believe that once you, like, Antonio never measures anything, and that's how and you can tell, and you taste, and I don't know. I guess that sort of sensibility you can only learn from working with someone who works like that. Like it's sort of. And last year I had a wine, and I really wanted to make it in a particular way, and I measured it like morning and night, and it got stuck. And I don't know, I'm not scientific, but it really felt like I was putting this pressure on it and this negative energy, and it didn't help it. But yeah, their way of making it is quite wild, and it's sort of, and I guess it's the same here. Like it's not as high up as where they are, but it still gets very cold at night, and a lot of the fermentations do get stacked, and they take a bit longer, and they can bring interesting results, but also very strange results. And I guess that's the hardest point, and it falls more on you guys, because when the wines are strange, it's hard to have something consistent, I guess. You know, like you make a wine one year and it's one way, and it's hard to recreate that always. But I guess it's interesting to see if you can still see a correlation between the difference. You know, I guess like the Giardino wines on my wine, like even when the years are different, and the wines don't end up exactly like a carbon copy of themselves, you can still see a correlation between them, I think.
Yeah.
There's a correlation in style, but the vintages are always different, I think.
Yeah.
But that's a beautiful thing, that you kind of wait. If you're talking about a conventional wine, you're just going to get the same wine in 2018, 2019. But when we come and taste, you know, at the fairs, or we come and try a new vintage of your wine, or even Cantina Giardino as well, you're like kind of excited to try the new vintage and see how it's different, and work with it in that way as well.
Yeah, it's funny because even now, when we started, we had to explain everything and almost apologize for everything. But even now, supposedly, when people are really accepting of that this isn't a live product, that every season brings something different, and then there's these people, you know, but then there's a lot of people who buy wine and like, oh shit, she's my favorite, not you necessarily, but she's my favorite, he's my favorite producer, and it's like, if it's a cool vintage and the alcohol's 11.5, everyone wants it. But then if it's a hot year and they actually pick the grapes when they're ripe instead of going to achieve the same style every year, then it's like, oh no, that doesn't fit with what we do. But I think, and there's also a lot of natural winemakers who farm very well and make very good wines that do purposely, stylistically make a similar style of wine every year, and they're still really great wines. But it's a choice, isn't it?
It's a choice, and I have maybe not a very trendy taste in wine either. Like I like heavy reds.
That's for sure.
I don't like unripe wines, so I guess, maybe it would make more sense to pick my grapes early and make really fresh, sippy. But I think you have to do what you like and what you feel the grapes are telling. Not that sounds really corny, but in a way, like, I mean, it's a personal choice, and it comes on to individual taste as well. Like, I mean, with Jacopo, we have really different tastes. He likes things, picked less ripe with a bit. Whereas I'll often go for something a bit riper with a longer maceration, and it doesn't. But then there are years like 2014 or 2018 where it's rainy and wet, and you have to pick early, and there's much less sugar, and But I don't think either's right or wrong. It just depends on.
And you said that you love working with chestnut.
Yeah, I really like the marriage of chestnut and macerated white wines, particularly.
Mm-hmm.
At Giardino, it's really interesting. They have loads of different, there's an amazing barrel maker down there, and he uses all different woods. So mainly chestnut, which is, I think, the main wood that's been used in central and southern Italy, but he also uses acacia, and mulberry, and pear, cherry. Cherry's a bit more difficult. I bought a cherry barrel one year, and the wine didn't focus.
Yeah.
Why is that? How
porous?
Porous.
So it's yeah. So you get I think it can make superb results, really interesting results, but you have to know how to use it, and I haven't quite mastered that.
Also, seems
I really like acacia.
the cherry seems a bit more assertive than acacia or.
Yeah. It's really marked quite a lot.
Yeah.
You like tutu comes in cherry.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about the vineyards at the moment, Trish?
At the moment,
How is everything looking?
Yeah, it's been a strange season. It didn't rain at all. We had absolutely no rain until about a week ago. Now it's looking very humid and a bit dodgy. But we're at the stage now we're doing green pruning. So all the shoots are about this high. We've done one treatment. So we do sulfur and copper, and then we tend to generally try and blend those in with nettles or various teas made of flowers, depending on what, like chamomile or yarrow, depending on what the season's like.
Can you tell us why you are doing this? Like why you are spraying and why you are blending it with some?
We're trying to use less copper and sulfur because even if it's allowed and organic, it's always a heavy metal. And so, it starts, well, especially when it's a rainy season. I remember 2018 where it rained a lot and there was people in the area in organic spraying 15 times. Once again, I'm not a scientist, but when you start to spray that many times heavy metals on the plants, I don't know. And the thing is, no one's done the studies. Is it worse to do 2 systemic treatments of non-organic sprays or 15 sprays of really heavy treatments of copper and sulfur? I don't know. So I would like to be able to use less and less copper and sulfur and try and integrate with plant-based sprays. Also, I'm using a lot of chestnut tannins, which is really good against certain mildews. So that's something to try and use more of that, to use less of the copper and sulfur. And I don't know, the problem is because I guess there's just not enough studies done. But when it is a rainy year, I think spraying up, the maximum level of organic can't be good for the plants, for the earth, and for the person who does it. Especially I have an old vineyard I do by myself with a backpack, and on that year it rained a lot. I got to, I think, the 6th or 7th treatment. I was like, I have to let this. It's not, having your hands and these, and the bigger vineyards, either Jacob does with the tractor, or my big vineyard here, I've got a guy who does on the tractor. But it's not fair on him either, I don't think, to be spraying that sort of levels of chemicals.
You're talking about using tisanes like in the biodynamic method.
So I'm not biodynamic, but I do use the tisanes, I guess, as much as I can to try and lower the amount of heavy metal.
And can you tell us what is a tisane? Tisane is actually a French word for herbal tea.
Yeah, exactly. So herbal teas. And so we're quite lucky here. There's lots of horse equiseto, so horsetail, loads of nettles, lots of yarrow, lots of chamomile, and so we can make a lot of the teas ourselves. The chestnut tannins I buy from an organic tisanish or person who sells them, and they seem to be quite effective at the moment. But it's stuff I guess I'm experimenting with, so I need to learn.
And what are you using? Like, for example, what is chamomile good for?
So chamomile, if it's a really hot year and it doesn't rain, chamomile's really good. But something like nettle, when there's a lot of downy mildew, can be really good. And then there's things like my friends Monique and Tim, who Alex wines from in Australia, and they're amazing with biodynamics, and they'll go and collect all the seaweed and dry that out and spray it. And there's just so many different things you can do, and I guess that's something I need to deepen my knowledge of. But at the moment, I try and use the things that we have here easily in the area, and then I guess because I have a lot of vineyards and I make a small amount of wine, I tend to err on the side of I prefer to lose. So in 2018, that was a really dry year. I sprayed less and just didn't pick the fruit that was ruined more than spraying. But that's maybe not a long-term solution either.
Have you found? Are there any sort of local winemakers to you that have sort of come to you for inspiration and for in an attempt to sort of share that knowledge? Because you must be studying it hugely.
No, we're lucky. I mean, in the area we've got some friends who are a couple who've just started making wine, and we sort of collaborate but most, especially in Umbria and Orvieto, there's a lot of really big, like you talk about Monaco, we've been having these huge battles with Ferrero, who are planting big plantations of hazelnuts everywhere. And so this big fight against monoculture, but vineyards are the worst. But I guess, if you go to Orvieto, you just see hectares and hectares. It's a bit like Barolo, it's just vineyards as far as the eye can see, which is terrible for especially in a place like Italy that's been historically lots of mixed agricultural systems. But I think a lot of the people think that there's lots of smallholders who, after the Second World War, really didn't have anything to eat, really had, so that for them, you can understand how the Green Revolution was such a salvation, because all of a sudden you could get 100% security that you weren't going to lose this to that and this to that. And so, and I guess now, and they sprayed these chemicals as a part of course in huge quantities. And I suppose now we're backlash to that, but I can also see where they've come from. So, there's this lovely guy who has a vineyard next to me, and he always talks about spraying water on the vineyards. But by water, he means some sort of systemic chemical treatment. But I can see where that's come from. And I guess the problem is it's often hard to have a dialogue, because a lot of people who farm in organics or biodynamics are really almost angry against people who spray chemicals, which I don't think is the right way. I think you need... Because also I don't think enough studies have been done on organics either, because there's so many farms around here now that are organics because they get are certified organic because they get contributions from the EU, but they spray the maximum levels of copper and sulfur, and whether that's any better for
irrelevant of what's going on. So irrelevancy of what's going on, they just always spray the same amount.
They have exactly. So you said you do the first treatment on the 1st of May or whatever, and you spray this and this and this and this. And I guess it's like everything in life. It's not black or white. There's all these gray areas. And I think the more we can collaborate, especially I noticed with this Ferrero thing, with this fight against the hazelnuts, it'd be much nicer if small holders could collaborate regardless of whether they're organic or not organic, because it's a fight against monoculture. And instead people get to sort of be in their bonus. I'm not talking to him because he sprays that. And I think also we speak in a nice way. My good friend who helps me in the vineyard, he has a tiny vineyard, and his neighbor is like an 80-year-old guy who sprays everything. But he speaks to this guy in a really nice way, and he's now managed to convince him not to spray this terrible thing for the worms you get. So I think it's about trying to collaborate and also learning, because all the old guys here who are spraying these things have seen so many different vintages, and they know so many things that I don't know. So I guess it's a lot to be learned from that as well.
I heard a story in when Caroline and I went to Spain to see Ramon Saavedra, Bodega Cozon. We heard a really interesting story that he'd sort of taken this lady under his wing to teach her how to grow grapes and make wine in a natural style. And she learned loads from him, and she'd done a whole season, but she gave up her job. I think she was a vet or something like this. So she gave her job up. She did her first season, and she was ready to bottle everything, and she just lost the nerve and added loads of sulfur to stabilize it, because she'd put her house up against buying this vineyard. She needed that security. So I think you're right. If people can support each other and give each other confidence and knowledge, you can see why people will, use fertilizer or add, it's livelihoods at risk. You're right. I think community and knowledge and trying to understand things together.
That's one thing people forget, like when you're like just sitting in cities drinking in cool wine bars and stuff, and everyone's like, oh, that's got sulfur in it, like how dare they do that? You're like, the guy's family have farmed, or girl's family have farmed organically for like generations, done things the same way, like this is how they feed their family, and you're like been drinking wine for 2 years and passing judgments as if they're a witch or something.
Yeah.
Or like even wrong people.
Yeah.
Like it's so the judgment, towards I guess it's kind of like, it's very, in a way, like it sounds what you're describing in terms of like reaching out with people who are working differently but as a way of working together. So basically, if we just hang out all together all the time, we think the same way, nothing will, it's boring. We're not going to learn anything from each other. But if actually we start hanging out with people who are thinking differently and will have a different perspective and will even challenge our own way of working, and so on, things might start moving, and also knowledge will get created.
Exactly. No, and this dogmatism, with sulfur, with chemicals, it takes away from the whole discussion. It doesn't. I mean, I don't add sulfur to my wine basically because I don't think I've never worked anywhere that does, so I don't even know how to do it. But I'm never going to judge someone who does do it, right? It's the same thing with yeasts. I mean, last year was the first year we had stuff not the first year, it was the year with stuff that didn't ferment. So what should I do? Should I let this wine go bad or should I add yeast? I didn't add yeast and the wines I managed to let them ferment with adding skins and stuff. But it's it's hard, especially if you know that the market wants really fresh, direct press wines, and you live in a region that doesn't lend well to that. It's hard to know what to do, and then you either have the choice to make a wine with lots of volatile acidity or with a long maceration, and and I guess sulfur's hard because if you're adding it at bottling, my worry is if the wine's already gone wonky and then I put sulfur in it, then it's just a weird wine with sulfur. Might as well be weird and have no sulfur. But I definitely don't judge anyone who does, especially, like Alex said, if you've got kids and family to feed and stuff and you want to sleep well at night, of course, I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like we were talking this Sunday, we were talking with Michael from Two Natuurkinder. And they just suffered from a big frost, like just overnight, and he lost 90%.
Wow.
Yeah, like in just a few hours.
Like 2 hours, wasn't it? It took 2 hours for the frost to take hold. And now he's looking for the second and third buds to come. So the next 3 weeks, if he has good weather, he might be able to reclaim some of the vines. But yeah, crazy. But he's a man that's got a family and he's taken this decision to farm the way he wants. He's converted his father's vineyard to organic over the past 4 years. And so brave, like so brave.
No, it's the same in the Jura and the Loire now. That's like every second year. Like a Renault from La Grapperie was almost going to stop making wine because he needed to go back to just farming grain like his family did in the very north, because literally every second year he'd have no crop after working the entire year.
The frost is that?
Well, yeah, frost and hail, just irregular weather when it shouldn't be there. Like that's meant to have passed, and then you have a traditional spring, and by that point, that bad weather is finished, and you move on to a slow spring. But now it's like, I mean, I remember, wasn't it 25 in like Catalonia in February this year or something crazy like that?
Yeah, it was hot. Yeah, because it's near. Because in Toulouse, it was like 24 in Toulouse in February.
Yeah,
we're all like celebrating. Celebrating. Have you found anything, Trish, like difference in weather patterns, and how do you?
We get frost now every April, like mid-April. But we've been lucky. We lost a bit of the new vineyard.
Okay.
This year, but nothing dramatic. Like, I mean, also my vines are mainly all quite high up, which makes them a bit less. And nothing dramatic. Like, I mean, they're frosts that are nothing near as dramatic as the ones that Alex is talking about in France or these ones in Germany. But the weather's definitely, I mean, it was super. I went to Australia for 3 months and I came back mid-February and I left Sydney, and it was the last week I was in Sydney was freezing cold, rainy. I left Sydney, it was 20 degrees, and I arrived in Rome and it was 22 degrees, which was, and then it was a really warm February, and then March was pretty warm, and then we got frost on 10th of April or something.
What do you do to counteract that? Do you have methods?
No, like Don Marco at Coste across the lake, he lights hay bales and all the...
Like he's in Burgundy.
I tend to go with the...
Cloud
on my own, go and try and light hay in all my fields. I'd probably set fire to them, and no.
Right. Is that a thing like to light hay bales?
Yeah, in between the rows. You could do cloud seeding from the gelateria in Bolsena. to protect the Ansonica crop, the valuable.
I'm going to press the unmute all button and see if there's any questions from the audience, if that's all right, Trish.
Press it.
We'll see what we get.
No, it's all tobacco. It's so bad for you.
What would be like? Yeah, sorry, I was not on mute, and I'm.
You're never on mute, Caroline.
I'm not going to mute you, Caroline.
I'm gonna keep going. What would be your, like, considering the region where you are? What would be your worst fear of farming? The farming
part. Like the thing that affects me most in the vineyard is probably the oidio, the powdery mildew.
Why is that?
It just seems to come more here. Whereas at Jacobo's vineyard in Umbria, which is 15 minutes from my house, the downy mildew is much worse, and we never get powdery there. But here on the lake, there's this like warm wind that comes in June, and it always seems to bring this powdery mildew. Can
you tell us what it is, like, and how it's affecting the grapes?
So it's a fungus, and it looks like white powder, and then it's set, it turns black, and you can taste it in the wine. It's
like a damp sort of.
Huh?
Like a damp kind of taste, like a stale.
Yeah, a bit of a stale taste if it gets too much. It's sort of and the way to counteract it is to spray sulfur powder on it. But it's a really horrible, like you go with it's just an awful thing to do because the wind blows and you get sulfur in your eyes and your ears and
do you treat downy mildew the same?
I just leave it. I try because it's just I try and do a heavier I try and do a treatment with liquid sulfur and hope that it doesn't, because the sulfur powder. You can get a tractor with a special equipment to do it, but I don't have that.
Are you finding plant varieties that can? Because you mentioned horsetail, which surprises me. So I'm actually making a horsetail tisane at the moment for silica. So for tomato, I've got melon. I want to try and grow melons outside, and some of the chefs are begging me for lemons because I don't allow citrus fruits in the. So silica's great for me in England. That any sunlight we get, the horsetail produces the silica, and the sun magnifies the sun's rays. So we can grow plants that might not be suited to such a mild climate, makes it sort of warmer for them. But for you, what do you use horsetail for? Is that because you can't sun?
Also good against frost afterwards. It can be
right, okay.
And
insulation.
Yeah. And against antifungal. It's got a lot of different properties that are and the silica is great for helping the leaves grow. It's super helps nutrient rich.
Yeah, that's what we do for the tomatoes, to get the leaves on the tomatoes to grow, to give them plenty of food, like natural food.
Yeah, especially in wet years and stuff when it's not.
Yeah, but you could maybe find a vegetable like a veg spray, a tisane, to go against the mildew. Is that research that you say that hasn't been done yet?
Well, no, lots of research has been done, especially in biodynamics. So like nettle, for example, is great against mildew.
Right.
There's lots of research in it. It's just whether, obviously, if you go and, the thing I think with biodynamics, my good understanding of it is it doesn't just, you just go and spray nettle, you just go and spray yarrow, or it doesn't work. I think like what you see from Monique or Tim, or definitely Monique's parents, is when you have the whole system in biodynamics, it's all the elements together that are working. Whereas I make a nettle spray and I go and spray, the effectiveness of it is less.
Not prescriptive.
Huh?
It's not like prescriptive. You don't just go, oh, that's the problem, I'll throw that at it.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
so
all,
I guess I am trying to use the teas as much as possible in higher doses combined with copper and sulfur to try and use less of them. But it's all, a bit not probably scientific enough at this stage, I guess. But still definitely worth doing. But I really would like to have a whole system with actually biodynamic in a closed circle, because I think then you really see the benefits when everything's working together.
You just have to add one thing. It takes a long time. I know it's.
Yeah, and on my own. I'm not. I mean, I can't get there, but little steps.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to weigh in with those. Otherwise, thank you so much, Trish, for your time.
My mic, someone's Joe says, my mic is broken. My mic is broken. I can't talk. I was wondering, Trish, what you'd say the biggest challenge you've faced in starting your own project.
Probably finding a cellar space. I just can't find one. And the Italian bureaucracy, it's so difficult. Really, really struggle with the we found one cellar space, but the roof wasn't high enough, and you need all these different paperwork. You need a bathroom, and I think I thought it'd be really easy. You just find a vineyard and then you make some wine. But the red tape is just a killer. It's not, it's
you can move to the UK and start making wine here.
We've got an enormous cellar that no one's using. It's double height. You can grow.
But don't talk too soon.
You can grow Bacchus, and we'll press it there.
But it sounds silly to say this, but it's my biggest problem is not having a cellar. I'm dependent on bad Santa to do my bureaucracy. So until I find a cellar space.
There's no more space at Jacobo's that can be converted. No.
Oh, there is, but he's just difficult. Yeah. Anyway, I think I need to move out of my ex-husband's cellar space as well.
maybe even change the labels a little bit.
Please, yeah.
He has to change the labels though, right? Because it was your sister that draws your labels.
Yeah, and I just really like the plain label with the white and the black, but he likes it too.
Can't you have? Why don't you? If you have the white on black, he can have black on white. He can do the negative.
Yeah, that's a good idea. They still look similar though.
And it's yin and yang, and but we, there's a big difference, is there?
Yeah.
A big difference, but a small difference.
I tried to do a new label a year ago, and it was really ugly, and I was like, I'm just not good at this.
The labels are good.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Speaking of which, how's that palette looking?
Yeah, they haven't called me. They didn't call me.
Give them a buzz.
I promise they didn't call me. I'm just checking.
Maybe they've called while you're on this. This is the most technology that's gone on under your roof ever. Yeah. Very impressed though, Trish.
Yeah, you've delivered it well.
I didn't see this going so smoothly, I must admit. These guys are all really consistent. We want I can try and organise it. But.
I love that you don't have internet in your house either.
No, I don't. I was going to try and do it, and then coronavirus hit, and I didn't get around to it.
I was going to try for internet, but Chloe's dad is...
I tried to do it, kept coming, and he was like, oh, yes, we can put it in, and another guy would come, and they're like, you have to pay 2,000 euros for a line, and I said, I'm not going to pay 2,000 euros for a line. And then
Chloe's dad is the same shit.
That calls, and they'd call me like 20 times a day, and I would just...
I panicked on the first day of being at Chloe's dad's. I panicked, and he's got a dry toilet, no internet, everything is just... I never had a shower there because you have to just shower outside, and we always go at Christmas. After a day, I'm like, I love not having it. I'm so relaxed. I leave there like
yeah,
it's the way forward. But then we wouldn't be able to do this, and we wouldn't be able to see you. So the internet's good.
Well, June 3rd, we can come and visit. When's that?
Next week.
Oh my God! Well, I'm not going to go that soon.
Oh.
But we will all come visit soon, and hopefully we can get you over to London before the end of the year, maybe.
If I'm not scared enough to be on a plane with coronavirus.
Yeah, true.
Very true.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Trish. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, it's been lovely to see you again.
Yeah, you guys do. I'd love to come to London or to the north at some point.
And Manchester.
Or back to Manchester. Yeah.
Stockport. Yeah.
Fond memories of Stockport.
As I recall, at the last time you two were in Stockport, one of you came to me and said, I really want to stay, but I don't think Trish wants to. And then Trish came to me 5 minutes later and she's like, I really want to stay, but I think Alex wants to leave. I was like, it's okay.
We stayed.
I think you stayed quite a long time.
And we got back without buying another train ticket. It was the dream.
That was so stressful.
And I lost my phone. Anyway, we can talk about this another time.
Guys, I'm going to go and water the garden before it gets dark.
Yeah, we'll let you get on. But yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for talking to me. It was really fun.
And thank you for all the wine that you are producing.
Yeah.
I
Keep
just
it
bottled
coming.
some wine. Hopefully, it'll be ready soon.
Well, that'll be after summer, right? The new stuff. Yeah.
So what you were saying, the palette that you're waiting for.
It's the same wines topping up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Will be picked up.
I don't want to miss out.
Because they're almost gone. So thankfully we're able to get a little bit more top up. So that'll be collected tomorrow, and
I'll hold them.
all right. Have a nice night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Hey, thank you.
Well, cheers, Trish.
Be good.
Bye. Nice to see you. Ciao, Carol.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ray, say bye-bye.
Hey, allô?
Bye.
Comment ça va, Ray? Ça va? Oui? Qu'est-ce que tu fais?
Qu'est-ce qui se fait?
Hein?
We went to see the show. We went to see Cheval.
Des chevaux.
Cheval le Chocho. And the Dutch.
Oh.
Okay.
Combien de cheval? 1, 2, 3, 4.
No. How many Cheval were there? 5? 5.
5.
Yeah, but we didn't see them very well. They were hiding.
Guess what I discovered today? That is very exciting.
Tell us.
There's a deer living in Highfield.
Oh shit, Martino said that before. I never saw them. Is it like way out?
I haven't seen it. So apparently it's very near St. Andrew's School.
I don't understand how Highfield it works. I get lost every time.
We should go together.
Where is that?
Oh, yeah.
It's just here in Leventium, just along the bike path.
Okay.
It's amazing for foraging. So I went this afternoon with the kids because elderflower just started. So we went on the bike and we picked up loads of elderflowers.
Amazing.
And then we just bumped into some people and they were like, do you know about the deer? And I was like, no, what?
So it's 7 acres of like country park in the middle of the city. It's massive.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's really wild as well. And there's like loads of like, like we go for like apple trees, plums and
Oh, they have an orchard there as well, huh?
Yeah.
Which you can freely pick from?
Huh?
You can pick from the orchard.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It's it's open to everyone.
Who looks after it?
Nobody.
Nobody.
It's wild.
Yeah, no, it's a wild. There's a lot of miscreants that use it as well, and it's a bit. We can't really forage for the restaurant because it could be a little bit dog pooey, a little bit, but it's good. It's good for home. It's good that we've got it, and we can use it for home.
You just need to clean it well, and then like elderflower is not like.
Is there plenty of elderflower in there?
Yeah. They're not quite ready. I mean, we had enough for like a very small bottle.
I think Lauren and Rita foraged some, and Rosie foraged some, but I saw it today, and it's like it's not quite ready, but it's.
Yeah, we went out on Saturday, and it felt like we were like 3 or 4 days shy of it being full bloom.
It's another one of those flowers because it's got such a delicate petal and therefore a really delicate aroma that it really depends on like the day you pick it. Like really, the time between it being ready and not good and falling off is.
Yeah.
If you want to be like, if you want to be really particular.
But you can't really clean it. I mean, you can,
Oh, you just rinse it. I mean, you
I
can.
didn't even rinse it. I kind of like, it's been boiled and then I'm going to pass it through a Muslim.
Yeah, I think that's fine. You can spritz it, but I think because you're boiling it as a syrup, it's always one of those plants. And it's high up, so there's no dogs doing anything.
Luckily, I was out with someone who had a decent knowledge of what elderflower was, because I had no idea how many similar white flowered plants out there.
Do you know, Rich? I'll still like I can spot things from like a mile away, but I'll still get up to elderflower. I'm like, and I have to look at the leaves and I have to make sure the leaves are.
I know.
I'm like, what is that? Oh no, it's not elderflower. Yeah, I still get. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's all of that stuff. You second guess it all.
Need to go.
Hello!
Yes, Ray.
Where are you, Rich, with that Hoffner base? That's not your flat he's got there.
No, it's not. Luckily, basically, I was having a few technical issues at ours, so I got around a friend of mine's in Ancoats, and he was someone I just know who's going to have the technical whiz and knowledge to set me up. So
he's got a bass and road mics. Is he a sound engineer or something?
He's a musician. Yeah, he records his own stuff. So I just thought I'd go somewhere safe so we get the clear line.
Yeah. The bass is beautiful. It's what Paul McCartney used to play in the Beatles.
Really? Hey, I should introduce you to Ben. He's an absolute legend, an old friend, and he's good.
Yeah, have I met him before? He's the guy we went for session with. No.
Yes.
Hi.
Yeah, last year. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Nice. Hey. Okay.
That was lovely. Trish is so nice, isn't she? She's just got this bright energy that you just get. I just want to look at her and listen to what she's got to say.
I've got to say, at the wine fair last year, she was the one who really sort of stood out in terms of who I was speaking to, and I just thought, obviously Federico was amazing, but I was really looking forward to Trish.
Yeah. I think it's her honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saying we use copper, we use sulfur.
Yeah.
And I try to mix it. I don't know. It's just a way as well of talking about farming that I find it quite inspirational.
Very much so. Yeah.
She's really easy with not knowing bits as well, and she's honest about her transparency about that. Of like, she's really easy about not knowing everything, and
yeah.
You know what I mean? She's really like easy within herself.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the closest I'll ever get to talk to Joni Mitchell. Really do. Every time I think of Joni Mitchell, like 100%. Like flying around Europe and just all lovely and blowing in the wind, and she's lovely, isn't she?
I love the fact that she's situated herself in a what sounds like a sort of a region within Italy which doesn't get all the plaudits. It doesn't have the rep, or and then she's sort of finding her own way still, isn't she? Really, which is.
Do you think? I mean, that's funny because maybe that helped. That she'd probably find a cellar easier if she was in a winemaking region. But then a lot of winemakers I've been talking to have to deal with all of the sprays and chemicals around them as well. So she's probably got none of that. She's really isolated vineyard without any, conventional farming. So like she said, there's pros and cons to everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she's really out there. It's funny she says she doesn't drink trendy wine because she's pretty like on vogue, isn't she, in London and New York? I know people in New York are drinking her wine a lot.
I didn't realise her ex-partner was so heavily involved at the Coste and that's an incredible.
The Gazzetta thing, yeah.
Yeah, an incredible link as well.
Yeah, I love that she uses the cellar stuff. Really cool.
What did you say? That she doesn't drink wine?
No, she uses his cellar. She's like, well, I need a cellar, so I'll use. She's still like that. It's kind of cool. Like, fuck it. Let's go down. What have you been up to, Rich? How are you doing? How's things?
Gosh, yeah, no. This week has been oh God, we've turned to the local market, which is the builders on the
I
building.
like that though. That's cool. It's a bacon butty.
You read today that Noma have started burgers, and
yeah.
That's
But
not quite the equivalent, but everyone is just having to diversify, in so many different ways, aren't they? But
soon, and then we're going to go to bed with me.
It's really quite refreshing, actually.
I think it's great that Noma are sort of. I feel like they're being responsible for the first time for a long time, and like, right, okay, we need to. I love the way that they do it in a Noma style. I saw the post. It was like, we've been developing this burger for 3 months, and it's like, what have you put in the burger? How good is it going to be? Like, there's like 60 chefs developing a fucking burger. They're like, there's pictures of it, and the onions are cut so badly. I'm like, they've done that on purpose.
I did notice that the red onions in there. God, it was a hefty portion.
Bad. I was like, but they must have like cut it on an angle on purpose, so your teeth sink into that bit, and it lifts up the meat for the cheese to slide. And it's like, fucking Noma burger. Need a Noma burger.
No, but I've got to say, it's quite refreshing having to change your approach to customer service to fit the builders' demands and requests.
And how is that? How is your relationship with them? Like, how?
Well, it's actually a really nice sort of, it's really been a really nice start, because obviously, we're helping them out. They in turn are helping us out. So there's almost, instantly, a feeling of camaraderie, and it's there's some really funny people. Oh God, it really. I've never felt more in the UK, I think, than just the different accents flying around, mate. Oh, I've got to record it in some way. It's so gold.
I like the bacon butty thing. I think you should like try and just open the gate a little bit. There's got to be. I mean, I'll come and buy a bacon butty one morning.
Yeah.
Marcus delivered yesterday, and we chucked him a bacon butty. So, mate, you're welcome whenever you want, mate.
I saw the girl from Feed today. I stopped to give Marcus a bottle of this tonight, actually.
Great.
Enjoying it, and I got a ticket off a copper, which was bad. But I saw the girl from Feed, and I was like, "When are you opening that? I'm craving a fucking bacon butty. Like, you need to open soon." But yeah, we come and see you. Can you do delivery? Like, get on your bike and deliver to? Because all the construction sites are open.
Yeah. Not sure what next week's gonna what it's gonna bring, but I mean, if the demand is there, we have bicycles. So yeah, don't write it off.
You're not going to do the meals now.
Yeah, no. Well, this is the last week of the menu packs, so that's where Joe is actually. That's why he couldn't make the call, but those have gone really well. It's the last week of that, and integrating. Our friend Jane down in Nantwich, she's donated the hogget, and
yeah, I saw that.
Joe's a little bit worried. Well, just conscious of the fact that he has to man a smoker at Cloudwater this weekend, and I think it's either going to take the hogget or him for a ride. So
it's a big old smoker. It's pretty.
I mean, I'm daunted just the idea of him getting on it, but
It looks like a train. Have you seen it? It looks like a steam train. He got it shipped over from Prague or something.
Yeah.
It's like typical American smoker.
Oh, yeah, but it was built in Prague, and they had to come over to build it. It's like, it's Paul Jones. It's like, like fucking, could you not go to B&Q and get a Weber like everybody else?
What amazes me is Paul still is vegan, and he's just got this thing, and
yeah, what an idiot. An aubergine in there, it will incinerate it.
He did pumpkins when we had our big party with where the lad gets in.
Yeah.
He did some pumpkins, didn't he?
Pumpkin. He did some.
Oh, they were great.
I didn't go near the veggie bits.
Yeah, me neither, really.
I've got a brisket that's like 15 kilos. And
How are you guys?
good. I mean, we're like, the pickle factory's going, and it just sells out every week, which is great. This week,
Awesome.
unlike we did like the Indian. I think you got an Indian.
Yeah, but thank you for that, by the way.
No, but we're doing Greek this week, and we did
Hey,
French.
Callum was an absolute legend, by the way.
Oh, he's such a good guy.
What a good lad.
You know what? He started 2 weeks
The
before.
throwing of the plate was amazing.
Yeah.
I had to clean it up afterwards, so I fucking have to throw a plate. But we're gonna stop. I mean, we got a complaint about the Indians saying we thought we were getting where the light gets in, and we just got an expensive ticket, which is understandable. So we're gonna go we're going to start cooking a bit how we do next week.
Yeah.
To be honest, this week it's the first time I was in the kitchen or last week actually.
Mm.
And I really with I miss service, but last week I started feeling it a bit, physically missed.
Yeah.
I started to feel it somewhere in one of my organs that I'm missing the guests, and I'm just missing these, cooking this food for these people and telling these stories. And I really started missing it. And the Pickle Factory's been really fun, and it's opened up just cooking what we want, which has helped lift the veil for me personally. But I wonder if we should, I don't know. I'm thinking about not doing it and just saying, right, look, I don't know. We're going to do it for sure again. I think we're going to open a pickle factory.
Awesome. I was hoping you might say that. Yeah.
The plan would be to have it and you just get delivery, but it'll be a wine bar. So you just come and drink. You know, when you go to the Indian and you eat Bombay mix, where you wait for your order.
Yeah.
Imagine coming to the pickle factory and just drinking a bottle of wine and there's a DJ playing. Whilst you wait for your order, it'd be like that. In a really small unit, really quick.
Yeah.
I'm just probably like everyone. I'm starting to miss people and guests.
Yeah. I think that's despite us, despite our best efforts during this time, there's only so many gears you can go up when you're in service. Really
but it's that's it. It's exciting at first, and then now we're all just a bit like, okay, because the novelty's fun, isn't it? But it's not.
Yeah.
Not enduring, I guess.
I wanted to say how great this is, just us being able to sort of feel these conversations. It's bloody great, isn't it?
I spoke to Fernando today, and he said, and I said to him, we don't need COVID to be able to do this.
No, yeah.
This could be a once a month, on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Introduce the winemaker. It's really easy.
Yeah, for sure.
You're going to keep selling wine and charcuterie and stuff as well. I like that. I like the pack you've got. That's good. Is that working well? Are you selling them?
It's probably the best thing we have, I think, right now in terms of an actual product which moves. Yeah, and it's. I would like to think that we would continue. The cheese is a little bit tricky. We're not. I think the cheese helps to sell the packs, but. Yeah. On its own, the cheese sort of lacks traction. Do you know what I mean?
We're not selling. I think we sold one of each cheese this week. And
it's
there's only one woman I know that wants to eat cheese in this weather. You don't want to eat cheese when it's 20 degrees unless you're fucking French.
No, it's the opposite because the traditional way is it's a room temperature. It's not. Yeah. It doesn't involve a lot of preparation. It's it's quite easy, and most of it as well, more of the French way is with a little green salad,
Yeah, I love it.
The chili, which is we're selling a lot of cheese.
Great,
aren't you? I mean, maybe it's the way it's packaged. Maybe we need to.
Yeah.
I love your packages of you've got you've got different classifications, haven't you?
Yeah, it's just simple packs. But I think for those that have got them, I think they've really enjoyed them. But I think it's the cheese game is definitely the toughest to feel. The charcuterie moves pretty nicely actually. We're super excited about that. But
as well, with dealing with Andy is really nice. He's amazing. But the problem with his cheese, I find sometimes, is that he keeps a lot of the cheese and he's aging it himself.
Yeah.
And when he's sending it, it's actually ready.
Yeah, it's already been through
a week after, 2 weeks after. Sometimes it's just not.
Yeah.
And it used to be okay because when we were open, we used to be able to just use it in what we were doing.
Yeah.
But since that, it's been a bit difficult sometimes. And if it's not,
Well, what's good about Carol? What's good about that? Because we've had that. I mean, so different cows, sheep, and goats all sort of age, and then whether it's blue or hard or soft, all age differently. So you can keep ones differently, but you can actually speak to Andy and say, "Can you send me something with 2 week shelf life on it?" And then you can reverse that to your guests as well. His knowledge is so good and his stock is so good that you can bring that up with him, and it's something that he'll enjoy more than
it's a challenge for him.
Yeah, if he knows if we've got a shelf date of a week and we need 2 weeks, he'll say, right, well, I'll send you this batch of St. James and
I mean, for us, it's been funny because since the Prime Minister gave his last speech, we've seen a massive change in the behavior people are buying.
Really? Wow.
So at the beginning, all the boxes seemed to work really well. Essential box, indulgence box, wine box, cheese box, you know, all these were kind of like, people were kind of going for the boxes.
Yeah.
And since that, it seems that people like to make their own order.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're used to it now, maybe as well. That they're like, I mean, at first I
It
think
feels less like an urgency or like an emergency. You know, it feels like we're less.
Yeah.
everyone was at first like, we need to get the most out of this, and now we're in for the long haul, maybe.
Yeah.
What's interesting, we don't have any deliveries this week. It's all collection.
Oh, really?
All collection on Friday, Saturday.
We've not given that option, but if I could, I mean, we've not made people collect just in a responsible way, but
yeah,
I would love to go back to that, because it's just, I don't want to be paying people to drive around and then,
sure.
I mean, to be honest, James is the only one that's on the books in that way, and he organises it so well that it takes an hour and a half to do the whole thing.
It's really good.
Which is amazing, but
yeah.
But yeah, we're not none of us are cut out for that. So it's nice that you've got collection as well. That's good.
Yeah, no, it's it's the biggest change that we've seen. For people's sort of habits and activities. It's
it means people are going out and
yeah.
I think they have to go slow. It's funny what Trish was saying. I never really thought about, where you think about different cultures. The Italians like hug and kiss each other, like they're so close and so sociable and so confident with affection.
Yeah, so affectionate.
And we're naturally a very reserved people, so it's going to take time for us to get confidence, for people to be able to.
Yeah.
I mean, not me. I'll hump the next passerby, but like the general public are going to be.
You got Ray there, haven't you?
Yeah, she's not her. We're not going to hump. She's eating. I had to do. Chloe's out. Chloe's been working and she's gone drinking in the park with the girls.
Oh, nice.
So I've got Ray's tea here, and I made myself a little bowl of peanuts.
And then...
which are finished.
I can't reprimand the child live on the internet, so she's just eating peanuts for tea. And
the snack is gone.
I mean, she brought me a bottle, and she's like, "Give me some milk." I'm like, she's.
Yeah. I was always wondering, like, when the kids grow up, when they were younger, I was always wondering why all the other kids loved coming to our house, because like I'm not really like, we're actually quite harsh. Like there's rules in the house and you all have to follow.
Yeah,
so anytime we have guests, like it's like no, you don't eat anywhere in the house, you eat at the table.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna fucking follow you with a brush, like no.
Damn right.
It was always really, really clear on the rules. But also I think the other thing is that I think like clear rules actually bring less anxiety in children.
Yeah.
You just know what's going on. You know, it's like, oh, okay.
Straight information.
Yeah. But not only that, it's the snacking. I'm a pro at snacking. So they love it. You know, they just get like snack. It's like a tasting snack day experience.
Grazing.
We've had snacking here, but not so many rules tonight.
Right.
I'm funny. When a rule is a rule, it's a rule, and it doesn't matter, and it's quite nice because you just have to build a framework. Like it doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong. Like as long as she knows that when it's not cool, it's not cool.
Yeah.
You know, I was just, when the kids grow up, I was just always curious because compared to the other parents, like we were quite rigid in a way. Like, you know, we were not like the most, like we're not easygoing on what's going on.
Maybe it's
I was just really curious why they loved coming here so much.
Maybe it's because of the wine you let them drink too. That wine.
I was wondering why Joe was acting so responsibly after he came round the other day, Caroline. Noticeable difference in his persona. It's a good thing.
Send him. There's a book that I bought, and it's like, this lady's like, if you carry on misbehaving, I'll send you to Mrs. Wilkes' house. One day this kid goes to Mrs. Wilkes' house and it's crazy, and they're fucking having a great time. So at the end of it, it's like, if you're good, you can go to Mrs. Wilkes'. So maybe that's with Joe. You should be like, if you're good, I'll send you to Mrs. That works.
I've got it in my pocket if I need it, for sure.
I'm getting low on battery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if you want to come and help me finish this bottle, Caro, and if you're on your bike, Rich. I have a big garden and I'm putting Ray to bed now. I've got work to do, but I'm not going to do it. I've done all my work. I've done everything. But if you fancy a glass of wine.
oh, thank you.
Oh,
But
mate,
I think I actually passed out. Like I put the kids down last night and like I had a quick shower and I passed out after. Like I just lay on the bed and
zonked.
so yeah, Toby was like, "What the fuck?" So I'll have a bit. I'll
Bit of Toby time.
catch up.
Yeah. Hey, we all want a bit of Toby time.
Yeah, say hello, Caro.
Yeah. Yeah, say hello for me as well. Cool.
I'm going to try and catch the end of a row 7 webinar. I think it started at 7, so
Wow, how'd you get onto that?
I'll send you a link. They've got a pretty good process of like, you have to register. I think
I'm registered with the farm, but maybe not with row 7.
Get involved in row 7. They're putting some interesting discussions on. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'll send you the link if you can join.
Yeah, perfect. Send me sam@wtlgi.com.
Yeah, perfect. I'll ping it straight across. I think it started at 7, so.
Oh, sweet. I'll plug my phone in battery, put her in bed, and try and catch it. Look at like, I feel like if you like went into Rich's room now, he's got like 20 screens in front of him. All right, I'm pinging this over. It'll be cool.
Well, are you gonna come tomorrow for coffee, Sam, or?
On my way to work, yeah, I'll stop for a coffee. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Those croissants today.
Croissant?
Huh?
Yeah, some croissant from Poland, but stale.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
We had pain au chocolat, but we
No, they had pain au chocolat. I had croissant. I don't. Maybe it was just because it was sat on our kitchen side for the night. So.
It was stale in what way? Like what?
It just tasted a bit stale. It was a bit like because it's so well laminated. There's more air can get through it. You know, it's not. It's best out of the oven, isn't it? As any croissant is.
They are unbelievably laminated, though, aren't they?
They're like it's like.
Christ, it almost doesn't feel real.
I mean, it's not the kind of croissant you get in France. It's like a pedigree. It's like a show croissant. Like something you
show pony.
You'd show it, and it's nice, but for me, it's too much millefeuille and not enough like doughy thing in the middle as well. It needs to be a balance. But like then, you know, on the other hand, Troves is like a brioche. I mean, it's like an incredibly technically proficient croissant, but it's not an everyday croissant, is it? It's like I feel like you should get dressed up and sing
put a shirt on to eat it.
Yeah, sing it a song and just be like, hi, you know what, know it a bit. But they're good.
I just got a message from Meg. She went out elderflower hunting today and she found pink elderflower.
Whoa.
That's not elderflower. Oh, no, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It's called black elderflower. It's called black elder.
Black elder? Really?
About pink. What are you? It
Guys,
comes out pink.
let's get back out there.
Yeah, no, ask her where that was.
I will.
Shit, yeah. Called black elder.
That's big. That's big news.
I think Sam his battery problem.
His battery. Definitely was that.
Yeah.
Caro, thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. It was lovely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Need to keep it going.
Absolutely. I'm always up for it.
Yeah. Let's try it. Yes. Let's talk to Alex and see what his thoughts are and take it from there.
Sounds good.
See you soon.
See you soon. Looking forward to see you.
Yes, bloody hell.
Yeah.
Love to the family.
Yes, I will. Have a lovely evening.
Cheers, Caro. See you in a bit. Bye.